Right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual set to compete at BYB 13 Tampa Brawl, and that goes down November the 19th. We've got the BYB Heavyweight Championship going to be defended. Tony Lopez taking on DJ Linderman, and happy to be welcoming Tony back onto the show. How's everything going with the training ahead of this one, man?
Well, it's going good, just like every other, training camp. Just, plugging away and doing what to make sure I'm at tip-top shit, with the victories.
Yeah, and I know you don't have like a normative training camp necessarily, but just, doing your usual thing. And I mean, you have so much experience and everything. And, to that point, like DJ Linderman is someone that you have like some previous history with there and everything like that. Like, what was the first thoughts you had when this bout offer kind of came your way?
Well, I hadn't fought him before in MMA, and it was a quick fight, but I hit it with my legs, with the legs. I know he's got some decent hands, and the first time we fought, that's when he was tagging me with his hands. I was like, ooh, I didn't like that. So my whole thing is, he's got some speed on all those hands. So I just myself was just thinking, okay, I got to prep for, someone with a faster hand. And I got to make sure I, kind of try and control that. So my training camp's been revolved around that. Just watching, or not watching, but, practicing of moving for someone that's a lot quicker. So, I myself, I've been training with smaller guys. Because the smaller guys are a lot faster than heavyweights.
Yeah, I would understand that, but like with the Trigon being like a little more compact, like does that make it difficult to have that kind of a game plan like you're talking about? Do you have to like train in a certain like space that replicates the Trigon to get that full experience, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, in a sense, yes, because it's a little more confined, so the room to move around is not there the same. So, but yeah, and on top of that, I don't like, moving that much. So, my thing is more of just the head movement and, hips and all that kind of stuff. Just, staying in a certain area, but being able to be, dodge hits. That's what I'm focusing on. So I can, counter strike at the same time.
Yeah, it seems like you've been finding your comfortability in the Trigon just with back-to-back wins at BYB 9 and 10, respectively, gaining the title and everything like that. So it seems like there's that, traction you're getting, and it seems like you're learning more and more each time you kind of step out there. I would think this, next foray, you'll be showing some even, additional kind of skills and just like more familiarity with it, I guess.
Yeah, well, no, it is true. I am getting more comfortable in there, and the whole thing is, I'm just focused on my hands. Don't have to worry about, takedowns or, kicks or anything like that, or elbows. So it's like, when I just focus on one aspect of the fight game, which is just, the boxing part, it makes it easier to polish that up and just be able to, focus on just to then try to do that, to better myself and make it hard for opponents, to get me. But yeah, it's very, very helpful.
Yeah, and like the last time we talked, just like the, distinction of being the first ever, BYB heavyweight champion, it seemed to be something you enjoyed there, even though you've had, a myriad of title reigns throughout the career there and everything. Like, what's the feeling getting ready to, defend the title, like the first ever, heavyweight champion, trying to log the first ever title defense here? How are you feeling about that? Is it kind of business as usual, or?
Well, yes, for the most part, yes. But in the back of my head, it's still, it's like, I'm the first heavyweight champ. I want to make sure I defend my title. I don't just want to be, a one-hit wonder, come in, get the belt, and, be gone. So, I definitely want to make sure I retain my title. So, but it is business as usual. But in the back of my head, it's still, there's that little, bit of, it's the first one, first time of defense. I got to make everything, count for myself, just to be able to say I've done it. Because you win the title, that's great, but the accomplishment comes when you defend the title. So that's what I'm looking at. At least give me a good handful of defenses, and then I'll be okay. You know what? I've done my job. If it's time for me to go, if someone better comes along, well, hey, as long as I got a few title defenses under my belt, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I think that'll be an interesting proposition, though. Like, I feel like you've got quite a bit of experience in the, bare knuckle space. Certainly more than many guys nowadays, like around 4 years plus in the space there and everything like that. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I think it might take a little while yet, but we also did talk about, when you would think the first title defense would be last time we were talking, and you were kind of saying, oh, yeah, I'll fight as quick as they can find me an opponent. Did you get, I guess, a desired turnaround here? Is this a good timeline for you to be competing?
Well, yes and no. To me, I like fighting a lot more often. This break was about 6 months apart. But at the same time, they had to make sure, it was a good opponent. And, they didn't fight whoever, He fought Josh Burns, and, which, it was ranked pretty high. When I fought, he was ranked number 2. So, it was a good fight in order to make sure Linderman was sort of qualified, for a title shot. And so, I do like the opponent. I don't like it took this long, but at the same time, I'd rather it take this long than to fight sooner and just fight whoever.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, it's if anyone looks at your Tapology or something like that, it's sometimes throughout your career stretches, it's you're fighting every month, every couple weeks. So I kind of get what you're saying in that sense. Yeah,
no. To me, it felt like this 6 months felt like my career was over. So to me, it was a mini retirement for that little span. And now I was like, okay, you know what? I'm done being retired. Let's get back into it.
But you kind of touched on the, Josh Burns performance from Linderman, a mutual opponent between you two there, and, DJ getting the third round finish at BYB 11. What were your thoughts on that performance overall? It sounds like you were, pretty impressed. It sounds like you see him as a, formidable opponent, a worthy challenger in a sense.
Yeah, no, you know what? I didn't see that fight going that way at all. And so when Linderman came out with the victory, I was like, okay, you know what? This will be good. Because I was told that, depending on who won, that'd be my next opponent. So, yeah, watching the fight, it just surprised me how well Linderman adapted and, fought Burns to come out with a win. So I was like, okay, it looks like, of course, he's got it in better shape. So, I'm expecting him to be even more higher performance when he comes against me. So, I said I'm expecting the best fighter out of Linderman. And so I'm not taking him lightly. I'm not looking at okay, you know what, I'm just going to do this, and it'll be over. I'm looking at, okay, he's coming to try and take my belt. I got to make sure I'm weary because he's going to be doing everything and training every which way possible with big guys, quick guys, all this stuff, just trying to get an advantage over me. As long as I keep myself sharp and don't think okay, this one's in the pocket. I don't want to get too confident on anything because then that's when you get caught.
Yeah, it seems like you're mapping out a pretty comprehensive game plan for sure, but something I thought was interesting because I was talking to DJ just a bit earlier in the week there, and I was finding out and doing my research that on the, BKFC card, several years ago, you guys both fought on the same event there, when you fought Joey Beltran and Linderman fought Arnold Adams there, and I kind of brought that up to him, and he's like, oh yeah, it was our paths were aligned almost to, fight in bare knuckle boxing eventually. He felt like it was leading to this road. Did you know that was a dynamic too? Do you kind of feel the same? Were you guys, was he on your radar for a little bit?
Not really. Because the thing is that I don't watch any other fighters. It's still like, okay, I gotta watch out for this guy, or I might fight him later down the line. To me, I'm just there. I'm taking it, one fight at a time, and that's all I'm focused on. One fight right now because I never know who my opponent's going to be. I'm used to in MMA where I get an opponent, and by the time the fight comes around, there's already been like 3-4 opponent changes because of injury or whatever happens. And so I never think about like, okay, well, you know what? What if I fight him? Is that? I'm just like, you know what? Whenever they give me somebody, that's when I focus and think about who I'm going to fight. I don't like to pre-guess or think about like, well, down the line I fight him. How am I going to do this, because down the line it's going to be a different fighter, depending on how many fights he's been through and what he's been through. So it's just I don't like putting anything in my head until I get a definite like, hey, this he's going up against, and I'm like, okay. Now I can focus on him and I can see what he is today.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a great point there, and I think it speaks to the experience you have, just being like adaptable and fluid with whatever can pop up opponents-wise and everything like that. Do you think your ability to adapt and kind of have that composure, do you think that's one of your bigger, I guess, attributes as a fighter?
I do, because that's one of the things that I've always heard with other fighters that, if for some reason they get an opponent change, it's like, oh man, well I trained for this guy. This guy, was this style, and he did this, and that's what I was getting ready for. This guy's totally different, and man, I don't know what I'm going to do. And my thing is that I never want that in my head. I never want to be like, oh my God, I trained this way, and now I got this guy. Whether they say it's an orthodox person who stands on it or a southpaw, and I get one where it's switched. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know how I'm going to fight this guy, this, that. So to me, it's like, no, you know what? Like I say, I always prepare for the fight, not the fighter. And then that's what makes a big difference, too. So it's one of those things, and I think my time and experience is what taught me that, you know what, you just got to be ready for what comes in the day of the fight.
And something I was kind of curious about, too. I mean, I feel like I know the answer to the question, but thought to pose it all the same because you had multiple titles in mixed martial arts and like localized to King of the Cage across, multiple divisions there. It seems like maybe in BYB your goal is more to just like have like a big legacy of heavyweight title defenses, like you were saying, like have like 5 or at least a few kind of title defenses there. But would there be any kind of like broader aspiration to hold titles in different weight categories, or more just kind of focusing on like creating like a big legacy as the heavyweight champion more so?
Well, you know what? It's funny you should ask that because just I think it wasn't even 2 weeks ago myself. I was thinking about that same question you're asking, and I was like, do I stay at heavyweight and just focus on being a great heavyweight fighter and champion? And I thought to myself, well, that sounds great, and it would be great, but there's always the thing that my problem I used to have is that I run out of opponents, or I go through the whole heavyweight division, and now who's left? So to me, it just depends. It's a thoroughly new sport with a lot of people wanting to jump in here and do that. So I'm hoping I don't run out of opponents. But if that comes to happen, then I thought about it. I might go down to light heavyweight just to get more opponents, to get more opportunities to continue to fight. And that's what it's all about for me, is just being able to step in the ring, at least every month and a half or so. And if that means having to drop down and weight to fight a light heavyweight to get more opponents, and just go back and forth, then it is an option that I've been thinking about.
And that doesn't strike me as like something that would be like a particularly hard cut for you, just because you have the previous accolades holding light heavyweight gold. Is that a fair characterization, or would there be certain lifestyle changes that would need to be made to have a smoother cut to light heavyweight if you did pursue that kind of path one day?
Well, you know what? It isn't a bad cut because all I do is I change my diet. And so when I fight, the thing is, when I fight at light heavyweight, I'm a light heavyweight guy. You know, I mean, the most I believe is about 5 pounds. You know, so when I'm down at light heavyweight, I'm walking around at 210. Just because I don't want to be dropping, you know, from 220, 225, dropping all that weight, you know, the day before the weigh-ins and to make weight and then come back at, you know, 225 and above, whatever. So to me, it's like, no, I want to fight 205. I'm going to drop my weight down so my body don't feel the stress of having to cut weight and do all this stuff before the fight. Because that's also another mental game right there, you know, having to lose weight, which is one thing I never liked.
Yeah, for sure. I get what you're saying. I mean, not the most pleasant thing per se, but something you've kind of mapped out and calculated enough for sure. And yeah, I think again speaks to the experience there. But yeah, a lot of cool things on the horizon. Chief among them, this, you know, BYB 13 fight coming up. And I appreciate you giving some insights ahead of the fight. But I do want to be mindful of the rest of your schedule today too, Tony. So to that point, is there maybe anything you might want to add as a parting thought as we're wrapping up here?
You know, no, I mean, I'm just happy with the way things are going. I'm comfortable with my training camp, and you know, just the people around me. You know, just helping me stay motivated. All that stuff is great. You know, and definitely always love you know, my sponsors. Without them, it'd make it a little, you know, tougher to get things going. You know, so I mean, if I'd love to just thank Hard Nothing Clothing, Avenger Cycles. And what is it? Oh my God! I hate when I go blank. Oh, there's one more. What are you? Excuse me. I was saying I'm apologizing to my sponsor right now for forgetting right now. But you know, I want to thank the fans. You know, thank everybody that supports me, that hates me, that loves me, and just enjoys watching the fights. And of course, you know, I appreciate you having me here and doing this interview with me.
Oh, well, I mean, a mutual, you know, appreciation for sure. Really stoked to have you on the show again to give some insights, especially ahead of, you know, this big fight on November the 19th. And yeah, I think a lot of people are really excited to check out that DJ Linderman fight, myself included. And yeah, to reiterate, thanks so much for coming on, man. And you just have a good rest of your day, too.
Well, thanks a lot.